So whatever I have in my brush right now, I had my brush with color green, and just adding a little bit of white. Okay, we're going to go up. Make sure you wipe your brush. I'm going to use a bit of green here for the shading. I would say it's blue-green. It looks more into like a blue than green. So blue and green together. Okay, so we had this green that we just worked on the trees. I'm just adding a little bit of blue in there. And that's the color I'm going to use. And this is going to be for the shading of the houses. Perfect, that's the color I was looking for, so that's good. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white on top, simply to make this a bit lighter. So it is shading, but it does have a little bit of light. Make sure you blend the white, it's not too bright. Okay, so you should be able to see that there is a little bit of light in there with the purple color that we had before. And we also added this green layer, which kind of makes it a bit more shady, I would say, because that's the purpose of it. So we're putting a little bit of shading in here. Going up. And make sure you move the brush, right? So don't use straight brush strokes this time. Just create a bit of texture. And as we're putting all these layers on top of each other, you'll see that the paint is changing. So it's not remaining the same. So it's layer after layer after layer, and then slowly, you see that the face of the landscape changes. It is not exactly the same as we had it at first. So this is very briefly, I would say very briefly done. But if you want to add more details, you certainly can add more details to it. It's up to you how much time and work you want to put in it. But I think it's a lot of color mixing here on this painting, lots of layers. Going with the same green color here, just adding a little bit of shading in all these trees. Okay, and the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put another layer with blue, with dark blue, simply to close our work. So dark blue, the same color that we used at the beginning when we did the sketching. So let's just add a little bit of blue on the top of our work here at the, so this way it adds another layer with this blue color. And as I'm adding this layer, actually I am doing small brush strokes, very much impressionist style. After all, this type of painting came right after Impressionism. So it's a mixture of Impressionism and abstract, where we're not painting every single detail of our landscape, but you can still see some outlining, especially here where we did the houses. So once you actually add these details with blue, you see that it kind of picks up a little bit and it changes. I think the dark blue, it kind of gives it more life. If you do not feel comfortable using medium-sized brush, you can always use the small brush. So it depends how thick your brush is, but if you feel comfortable using a thin brush, you can always switch to the thin one. It depends what you are using. I usually tend not to use too many brushes, don't change them too often. I'm kind of used to work with one or two brushes. All right, so closing this up. And then as we close the work up, we're also adding some details that we did not have at first. So we're giving it a bit of volume and depth here with color. So if you'd have to paint a realistic landscape, you would have not done this, but this is a different way or a different method of painting. We're not copying what we're seeing in nature, we're kind of changing what we see. So in this painting, we see that colors, for example, with their outlines, which have very strong, vivid energy as we draw those colors. However, they turn into a calmer and more restrained depiction of nature, right? Because we kind of simplify the shapes. And many of these forms have been reduced to a very descriptive, so we can see the houses, we can see the trees, but at the same time, they're extremely simplified shapes. And you can really see this when we did the hills and the houses. And the same here as we're doing with the trees. So we're kind of simplifying the shape of those trees as well. And we are almost done. All right. So if you want to add a little bit more details here on the trees, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it because this is very much abstract and expressionism type of painting where you don't add too many details. And that's about it for me, guys. That's it for this painting. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next class. Bye-bye.